Right. We're continuing, God willing, we're concluding this speech of the Lubavitcher Rebbe's that we've been learning for this past week. And it's speaking in a very concentrated way about Mashiach and what Mashiach is. Possibly the most misunderstood idea in the world is what is Mashiach. God is also pretty misunderstood, but at least people have a general idea that God is something that's a controlling force in the world somehow or other. But Mashiach is totally misunderstood. Those who do have this idea, of Mashiach, especially the Christians, as he's sort of like a means to get people into heaven. And that's, in a way, the opposite of what Mashiach is. Mashiach is de-emphasizing heaven. The main point of Mashiach is this physical world and how precious and amazing and valuable this physical world is to God. And that the only ones that can reveal this are human beings. And by making the right decisions and doing the right acts and deeds. And people are judged, if you want to call it being judged, according to their deeds and their actions, what they actually did and said in order to make this world a better place according to what God wants. And the judgment, that's up to God. We don't know how God judges. What is really an important good deed, what's a not important good deed. It could be, we've said so many times, a person did good things his whole life. Maybe one good thing could wreck it all up. One bad thing he does at the end of his life can wreck it all up, and he'll lose all of his. On the other hand, a person can do bad all of his life and do one good thing, and that one good thing will fix everything up. We have to believe that God judges everybody favorably, but that's not our concern. Our concern is to do and to say and to think as much good as possible. Our concern is not about getting judged at all. It's not our concern. If that's what it takes in order to sort of wake a person up from his selfishness, then that's a good thing. The whole purpose of Mashiach is to reveal to everyone how precious every moment of life in this world is, and how precious is every human being to the Creator. And the more human beings, the better. Mashiach will reveal the essence of God, the Creator, in every creation. But it's on us to bring him, especially on the Jews. And that's what the Lubavitcher Rebbe is trying to do. And in fact, that's what the Mashiach is supposed to do. He's supposed to arouse everyone to bring Mashiach. Mashiach will be a person that he will work to arouse the Jewish people. I'm talking about legally. This is a law, according to the Maimonides. He's going to work to bring the Jewish people to wake up to their responsibility to improve the world. And so that's us. That's us. The Rebbe is writing this to Jews, to his followers, and that's the Jewish people were chosen for, to make this world a blessed place. So here we go. Yesh Lomer, we can say, and the just one small thing. This Mashiach is a human being. It's a person, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe had all of the criteria for Mashiach, and we're supposed to be looking and waiting impatiently for that person who has these criteria to come. And the criteria are very simple. He has to be from the tribe of, he has to be a descendant of King David through King Solomon. He has to be a person that knows the whole entire Torah and does the whole entire Torah, does all the commandments, whether the commandments of the rabbis or the commandments of from the Torah. He has to do all the commandments according to the explanation of the rabbis. He has to strengthen Judaism everywhere that it is. He has to fight against anything that weakens Judaism. And anyone who does those things, as that, you can suppose he's the Mashiach, and you have to follow him. You have to follow whatever he does. And what's the goal of the Mashiach? Is that he's going to build the third temple and gather all the Jews to the land of Israel. That's the goal. But anyone who just demonstrates these qualities as you have, you're supposed to follow him. So here we go. Let's go. So essentially, this is the Moshiach speaking. And the Moshiach is the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and he's telling everyone what you have to do to make this thing worldwide, to manifest the goodness of God in the whole world. And of course, you can ask, how can one person do this? So the answer is that's what Judaism is based on. One person, Moses, took the Jews out of Egypt. And before that, one person, Abraham, that the whole world was against him. And everyone was sure he was not going to succeed. And it took 2,000 years until Moses came along. So we had to wait. And we've been waiting 3,000 years since Moses. But nevertheless, that's the point of the Rebbe. The time has come. We've waited long enough. So that's what we continue by saying. The rabbis say in this Mishnah, in Brachot, it says, Kol Yamei Chayecha, that all the days of your life you have to bring to the days of the Mashiach. All the days of your life means every single second that a person is alive. And whether in the daytime, whether in the nighttime, whether he's awake, whether he's asleep, that also then he should live with the air that he breathes should be permeated with this idea, I have to do whatever I can to bring the Mashiach. This world is too confused. It's too sick. The only way to heal this world is by bringing this great leader, this King Mashiach, Melech HaMashiach. Call and neshama, call leil, like it says, every soul should praise God, and that also means neshama is also neshima. On every breath that you take, a person breathes. He should muchrach. It is necessary that every instant, that every instant that he's breathing, right, which is not the case. Eating and sleeping, eating and drinking, you do once in a while, but breathing you're doing all the time. All of the days of your life, all the time that you're breathing, every breath you take, and all of the time, you should be devoted only to one thing, to bring to the days of the Mashiach. What does it mean? That all of your life, every single moment, all of your interest, all of your energy should be to try to bring to the Mashiach. Now, the Rebbe knows who he's talking to, and he's saying, listen, even if one person gets this message, at least someone gets the truth. At least someone gets it. And even if that person only gets it for 1 minute of the day, that's a big novelty. But the goal is that everyone should feel this and that it should be all of the time with all of our interest. Because Mashiach is that person that he is going to rectify the whole world. What do they use the word? Salvation. He's going to save the whole world, right? Save the whole world. He's going to make the world into a beautiful, healthy, godly place like the Holy Temple was. To bring to the Kolomer, in other words, not just the time when a person thinks about it and speaks about it and does something in order to bring the Mashiach, but what his very life should be devoted to bringing Mashiach. You should feel, the Rebbe said in another place, you should feel crushed every instant that the Mashiach is not here. But on the other hand, the only way to bring him is by being happy. You have to understand that it'll be so wonderful, and that every moment that that what we're looking forward to is you're happy, right? But yesh lahos, if we can add, now, this doesn't mean that you have to go running out in the street and chanting, "We want Mashiach now" all the time. It means you have to go to work, and you have to do your job, and you have to be a normal person, and you have to do whatever you do, because that's what's going to be when Mashiach comes. The world will be a normal place, but it'll just be permeated with, instead of people thinking automatically, selfishly, people will think automatically about the Creator. That's what it means. We have to bring to the days of the Mashiach. To bring, we have to do something, not just to include, that we have to include the days of the Mashiach, Lashon Rabin. But it also means we have to include the days of the Mashiach, that when a person's life, his very essence of his interest and being, of every single Jew is connected to the Mashiach, like we said before, then this will bring in an automatic way to the situation of the days of the Mashiach. That the essence of Israel, that the essence of the Jewish people will be revealed, actually, the essence of the Jewish people. Ubezeh gufa, to the days of the Mashiach. What does it mean? That this hints at the two periods of the Mashiach. One period, everything will be normal and everything will be very just very nice and healthy. And the next, there'll be big miracles until it finally leads to the raising of the dead, raising up higher and higher. Maybe we can say, I'm just extrapolating over here, but maybe not. And now we got in America a sort of an example of this, but for the side of bad, right? The side of the bad. There's people, we can see there's people now, right? It started off maybe sort of like a political thing, but now there's this thing, woke. And so what does it mean? It permeates every instant of these people's lives. They're always looking around for someone who's going to disagree with them, and they're always trying to push their agenda. A man is not a man, a woman's not a woman. It permeates every second of their life. There's also people who are fanatics with religion, right? That everybody has to believe like my religion, right? Everyone must be this, everyone must be this. We'll fight battles with this. Right? Every second of their life, right? They are going to the Crusades. They had the Crusades. They went, they killed and they raped and they did everything for the sake of the Lord. They went to, in every single instant, they left their homes. They did everything. So the Rebbe said, okay, that is all for bad. That's all for selfishness. It's some sort of a selfish motivation to get you into the world to come. You're going to get another brownie point. You're going to get. But the fact of the matter is that it is possible to live every moment of your life for a goal. In those cases, the goals were bad, right? You ever see the pictures of the big Nazi rallies and everything? How they were inspired every instant of their lives. They just had tears in their eyes. They were so happy that they're going to go and conquer the world or whatever. Later when Napoleon, these people, every instant of their lives was devoted to this destructive, terrible thing. Let's talk to these guys, these missionaries that go out all over to get everybody to believe in idolatry, but they're tremendously devoted. How do they say? They believe in sheker with an emes. Right, emes. That the Rebbe is trying to get us to understand. Number one, there is a true goal. That's chachma bina v'das. Chachma is there is a goal. There's a point. The point is to bring Mashiach. Bina is the Rebbe is explaining how to do it, what to do. But das means you have to really connect to it and actually do it. In more detail, Kol Yamei Chayecha, all the days of your life, is to bring to the days of the Mashiach. This expresses what? Take if immediately when a person wakes up, as soon as the essence of a Jew's soul wakes up, just the fact that he is, like we said before, a Jew, the fact that he's a Jew, then he feels when he breathes in air, he feels Mashiach. That's what it should be devoted to. Jews nowadays, they know they're Jews, but they don't know how to translate it. They don't know what it means, right? There's a lot of Jews totally not religious, but they're willing to die for their Judaism, right? Like we see now in America, you see, you dirty Jew. The guy doesn't know anything about being a Jew, but he says, oh, that wakes him up. I know people that, me personally, I think I told you this, me personally, I went to a lecture of a big professor, and he said an anti-Semitic statement. I was totally did nothing Jewish. I didn't know when Shabbos was. I didn't know Yom Kippur for sure not. I had no conception of whatsoever of the Judaism. The little tiny bit that I knew was totally, just totally swept in the away with the wave of being normal in the world. By nothing. I went to a lecture, and this big professor said something anti-Semitic, and it just sparked this little thing inside of me. What is a Jew? What is it? That's what's called the air of the Mashiach, the atmosphere of Mashiach. Because Mashiach is going to be a person that's going to change the whole entire world, like I said. Like Moses took the Jewish people out of Egypt, he changed the whole daily life and the whole, how do you say, reality of every single Jew there was in the world, and consequently the whole world. The Jewish people became revealed. People tried to copy them, people tried to destroy them, people did this. Everybody was all of a sudden became tremendously obsessed with the Jews, to be like the Jews. The Jews aren't true. The Jews don't have it. The Jews. What happened? What happened? That the whole world changed, and because of one person, Moses took the Jews. Well, the whole world is going to change now even more by Mashiach. Belesh and the rabbis say, Rucho shel Melech HaMashiach. It says in the beginning of the creation, it says that the Spirit of God was hovering on the waters. It says that was the Spirit of Mashiach. Because the essence of Mashiach is to reveal God in the world, to reveal the Creator in His creation. That we'll see in every single creation, especially in us, we'll see the spark of Mashiach. We can say, that's what it means, the atmosphere, the spirit of Mashiach. This is even above what's called the light of the Mashiach. The light of the Mashiach is things the Mashiach will do, right? The personality of the Mashiach, the qualities the Mashiach will bring, the holiness of the Mashiach, the light of the Mashiach. This indicates as the revelation of the Mashiach by means of what he does. He'll fight the battles of God. He'll defeat all of the enemies of Judaism, which is not the case. The atmosphere of Mashiach, this indicates on the essence, the very fact that there's Mashiach. Like we said, when a person wakes up first thing in the morning, before he can even think, he knows that he exists. Kolomer, like it says, he's galus metzios, of the revelation of just the fact that there is Mashiach. And the fact that there is Mashiach, the metzios, the existence, the fact that exists even before he becomes a king and he becomes coronated as Mashiach. He starts to rule as Mashiach. And after he becomes revealed Mashiach, before Chassidut comes along, and before the Tomchei Tamimim comes along, and before the Shluchim come along, and the Beit Chabad come along, there's the essence of what Mashiach is. That's what's called the spirit, the how do you say, the atmosphere, which is incomparable to the things that Mashiach will do or the effect that he will have. Just the knowledge that there is such a thing, Mashiach. It's almost the same type of a thing. I mean, actually it is God, right? God. A lot of people, they don't believe in God. They don't believe in God. You know, why should I believe in God? I can get along without God, which is the truth. A person can get along without God. A lot of people don't believe in God, right? But as soon as a person realizes there is God and God is creating me every instant, right? Then you start to think, what does this mean? You know, what does that mean? What is the implications? That God is creating me every single instant. So yeah, that same God, he gave the Torah. So he's telling you what to do with yourself. But that's already details. But just the fact that God is creating me, that's a very, how do you say, earth-shaking idea. Suddenly you realize, well, I'm not alone. God is, what does that mean? What does it mean? Okay, but what it means, that's a separate thing. But just the fact that it is such a thing, the fact that there is one human being, that he is going to make the whole world realize that God is creating them, the fact that there is one person that can do this, that itself is shaking. Who is that person? Well, it's going to change everything. Well, and then after that comes the details about Mashiach, who that person is. Al-Pizeh, according to this. And this, the fact of Mashiach, everybody feels it. Everybody feels it. But you have to be aware of this feeling, right? You can feel something not being aware. Al-Pizeh, according to this, we can understand that the main novelty of the coming of the Mashiach is the fact that the revelation of just, how do you say, his essence, his being. Matzati David, like it says in the Psalms, God said, I have found King David, my servant. Because King David was just a person like everybody else. But all of a sudden it was real, listen, somebody in the world, there has to be someone who's the Mashiach, who's going to bring the whole world back to the Torah, to the 7 Noahide commandments. There has to be some person like this. Who is it? Who is the person? Ki, Kol Prati, and Yanin, Shalach Reza, all the details, the revelation in front of everybody to redeem and save all the Jewish people, and also all the other details of the coming of the Mashiach. It all comes from just a result and branches off from the revelation of the fact that there is such a thing as Mashiach. And it is included in it also, just like a Kululimbo, and they're included in this fact that there is Mashiach. Or in simple language, that the world cannot continue the way it is, right? The solution to the world is not through the World Health Organization or the World Unity Organization, whatever they call it, just by normal people that talk about normal people things. It has to be a person that's going to think only about the Creator and bring the Creator to the whole creation. And especially even more, the Torah, the teachings of the Creator, the Torah. Because just like when a new moon is born, this includes this first little sliver. It includes in it all of the light that's going to come afterwards. The same thing when people accept the fact that there is Mashiach. This is especially Kol Yamei Chayecha Lavil Yamot Mashiach, to bring the days of the Mashiach. in a way, the Maimonides says that was one of the good things about Christianity. And even though they got the whole thing wrong totally, and they how do you say, warped the whole idea, but at least they brought the idea that there is such a thing as Mashiach, that there is such a thing. What he's going to do and what he is, they totally misinterpreted, whether by purpose or whether by accident. But nevertheless, it's a total error. And they're excited about it and etc. Just like the Jews were excited about the golden calf. But they brought the idea into the world that there is such a thing as Mashiach and that the Torah is true. Right? Even though that they twisted the Torah and they diverted the Torah and they defiled the Torah, but nevertheless they brought the idea that the Torah is the source of truth, and that the Mashiach he's the one that's going to bring this truth into the world. Right? They got it totally wrong, but at least the basic idea is there. That the Chai is all the day of your life, Sheniz Galta Mitzius, this will bring the fact that there is such a thing as Mashiach, eventually will bring, when he's defined properly, that will bring to the days of the Mashiach. But the fact that there is the Mashiach, that is the most important. That's like the sliver of the moon, the sliver. It's taken, the 3,000 years, 2,000 years since the destruction of the temple for this little sliver to be revealed. And then it has to open up. But now, says the Rebbe, is the time. Since that the fact of the Mashiach includes in it all the details of the days of the Mashiach, the details, that all of them are included in the essence, existence of the Mashiach, just like the first little sliver of the moon. Okay, says the Rebbe, let's talk about what actually to do. Since that already, it says there already has been, the moon has already begun. In other words, the Rebbe is saying, I'm the Mashiach. The previous Rebbe, he was the Mashiach, and I'm a continuation. Namely, it says, just like the Jewish people are going to be renewed, just like the moon is renewed, and we've already had the first day of Kislev. That's today, right? We're talking today, Friday. This is the Rosh Chodesh. This is the beginning of the month of redemption, right? That's when Chabad Hasidut really began. The first Rebbe of Chabad got out of prison. This is the third month from Rosh Hashanah. It's the third month from. This is attached to what's called the third redemption. This is the third month, right? There's month of Tishrei, and then Cheshvan, and then Kislev is the third month. This is connected to the third redemption and the third holy temple. We were redeemed from Egypt, and we were redeemed from Babylon, and now this is the third redemption. We're going to be redeemed from Edom. It says from Esav. And now, since we're now in the year Tafshin Nun Beis, this is 1992. Now we're already in 2023. Okay, yay! This is the 2022. This is the year that we're going to see big miracles. Palaot instead of take this. We're going to there'll be big miracles in this year. So every single Jew has to add on with more energy and stress, this thing of all of the days of your life to bring to the days of the Mashiach. Everything that you do has to be devoted only to this goal to improve the world and make the world a vessel for Mashiach. And the Rebbe is saying that he is the Mashiach. Just listen to what I'm saying. Al Yadei by means of this, that all of the existence of the Jew, immediately when he wakes up in the morning, should be permeated with the life of Mashiach. Today is going to be the day the Mashiach is going to come, any second. So this is the real essence of every single Jew, namely the Mashiach, which is in every single Jew. And this will bring to the revelation to the days of the Mashiach. This can be even in this instant. The 1 second doesn't depend on the second before it. By means that a Jew renews a new arousal and a new, energy in the essence of his soul that comes from the essence of his soul, which is just waiting there to be revealed. By means that he wakes up from his sleep and he decides, I'm going to do everything I can to bring Mashiach. By means of this, there's added, what do you mean? He will add on one more good deed, one more mitzvah, in order that he can tilt himself and the whole entire world to the side of good and to bring salvation and saving to the whole world. The world is in a terrible situation, rabbis. I mean, my friends, I mean, I'm sure that you know that there's wars all over the place, and there's terrible destruction, and there's suffering all over, right? And there's ignorance, incredible, right? And the decadence, and the how do you say, the twistedness that's going on in the world. The obsession with sex and with this is just, it's just, diverting everything. It's like before the flood.
It's like Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah. It's right. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah. That's right. It's like Sodom and Gomorrah. But here it's even worse. Sodom and Gomorrah, they did bad things to other people. Here, they're convincing people to do bad things to themselves. People are making operations on themselves and changing themselves with all sorts of weird piercings and crazy things that people are, this is just totally out of control. And they keep it quiet. It's like, at least in Sodom and Gomorrah, they weren't suicidal. People, here the people are just suicidal. What can we do? What can we say? It's just totally incredible. It's something that's not, they say like it's almost like it's worse. There was Hitler and there was Stalin. Hitler killed about 50 million people. And they say that Stalin also killed 50 million people. But in some ways, Stalin was worse because he killed his own people. At least the Nazis killed strangers. Okay, so that's evil, but it's at least, you make up somebody's, but here he killed his own people. And now in America, they're teaching people to kill themselves. They're trying to legalize euthanasia. People can kill themselves. Children are committing suicide. It's just, this is a level that's just, it's total insanity. Everything is imploding in itself from lack of meaning. The vacuum is like imploding on itself. People, they're making a big effort to remove meaning from everything. In a big way, it started with Christianity, to remove all the meaning from this world. The only thing that's meaningful is going to the future world. You got to go to the world to come. This world is non-meaning. And you want to say that it's an aberration, it's a twisted mind that can say that a man is a woman. Here they say a human being is God. That's the biggest, how do you say, the decadence and insanity that you could possibly have. There's not, man can make an operation to be women. A man cannot be a God. It can't be God. And you got billions of people to believe this stuff, right? And the whole thing comes from a twisted idea to empty out the real meaning of what Mashiach is. But at least there's the idea that there is Mashiach. Now the Rebbe is trying to tell us, and that no, Mashiach is life. Mashiach is meaning in this world. Mashiach is to bring meaning into every single human being and to show how precious every instant of every human being's life is. And even those human beings that are totally written off, and you got like in the United Nations, all these nations from like Africa, who cares about them, right? They have 1 million people die, what do they care about them? That's very sick. Very sick. And it's very sick in public, right? It's like they're almost proud of it. The world is so incredibly sick. I don't want to go into the bad part of it. And one person can fix the whole thing up. That's the Mashiach. We have to be waiting for this one person to come. Calls all this Lav Davka is not only we're talking about these high spiritual things, Hakashurim, which are talking about the level of Yechida, the essence of the soul, these levels of the soul, like learning and spreading out Torah, Chassidut, Yechida Shabbatorah. Right, the inner ideas. It says Chassidut, the teachings of Chassidut, the teachings of Chabad, hundreds, thousands of books. That's what's going to bring Mashiach. Says, that's true, but now the Rebbe is talking about something that's much more all-encompassing. Even be'inyanim peshutim, in the most simple things, like for instance, you give physical needs of a Jew for the holidays, which that means that you give a person food for money. Money for food. Or you give them a drink or something like that. It keeps the person alive. That's more important than the person being able to learning and doing the commandments and everything. If there's no person, they can't do anything. This is especially all the needs that a person has in the month of Kislev, known as Chanukah, the days of happiness and joy. Shemosifim besuda shel simcha. When Jews give charity one to the other, this spreads out to the whole world. According to Judaism, there's, I guess, capitalism is the ideal economic system. capitalism is the ideal economic system, and monarchy is the ideal, governing system, right? But capitalism, what is capitalism? That there should be people that are rich, and there should be people that are poor, and the rich people are supposed to give charity to the poor people. That's the way it's supposed to be. That there's some people that no matter what they do, they're always going to be poor. You can give them $1 million, the next day they'll be poor. They'll lose at something that's, in order that the rich people should give them charity and help them. And there's all different ways of getting charity. To hire the person to do a job for you, right? Hire that he should work, give him a loan, and tell him he can pay whenever he wants to, right? He doesn't have to pay you back. If he can't, you can't. Kol, this includes also the custom of giving charity for Hanukkah, like the rabbis used to do. They would give charity, and they would make meals on Yud Tet Kislev and Yud Kislev. Physical things, to do physical things, to say good morning to someone, to say how are you, to help a person out, to help an old lady across the street. It doesn't necessarily have to be a Jew. It can be any human being. But at least, your brothers you should take care of first. But Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. And this is the main thing, that from the beginning of the month of Kislev, today is the first day of Kislev, which is the month of redemption, should come to actuality and revelation in the Geula Mitit Vashlema, in a true, total redemption of the whole entire world, all mankind. Beginning, the beginning of the Geula Vashlemus, the beginning of this redemption and the completion by means of the Mashiach. Like it says, Yamod Melech mi Beit David, there's going to stand up a king. This is the language of the Maimonides. There will stand up a king from the house of King David. And then be attacking at the Olam. He'll fix up the whole entire world. La'avod Hashem, and everyone will be interested only in serving God. In other words, to do what God wants with everything that God has given us. Like it says, Az efoch alamim. It says, then I will transform all of the nations with one pure language, and they'll all serve God with one shoulder. Like it's also hinted at. Remember last week's Torah portion, we had the whole story about Avimelech, that he wanted to take over the kingship from King David. Right, King David was old, and one of his sons said, since King David said, no, I'm going to crown King Solomon, Shlomo. He's going to be and Shlomo's mother, which that was Bathsheba. So in the end, she said, right, Haftorah, this is the Haftorah, the previous week, she said, Yechi Adoni Amelech David Olam. Long live, may King David live forever. From this, by the way, we got this idea. The Chabad says, Yechi Adonenu Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach L'Olam Voed. Yechi Adoni HaMelech, long live the king forever, King David. Nitzchius, the kingship of King, and I mean, we can also say King David was on his deathbed, right? He knew he was only going to live 70 years, and 70 years was almost up. And nevertheless, she said, may King David live forever. Namely, we say also in the Melech David Yisrael, Chai v'kayom, King David is alive and existing. Nitzchius and Melech David, the eternalness of the kingship of King David, which is drawn through his son, King Solomon. Sheshlemuto, Melech Mashiach will be from Beis David Mizerach Shlomo. Says the Mashiach is going to be someone that's going to be from the house of King David, and he's going to come from the seed of King Solomon. Directly, because King David had a lot of sons. Shetochana, the main thing is, when we say Yechi Adoni David HaMelech, long live the king, is he's Galus Mitzioso Shel Melech HaMashiach, that should be revealed the fact that there is Mashiach. And that's why the Chabad Hasidim say, Yechi Adonenu Moreno Rabbeinu Melech HaMashiach L'Olam Voed, long live Yechi, long live Adonenu Moreno Rabbeinu, our master, our teacher, our rabbi, Melech HaMashiach, the King Mashiach, forever and ever. That's what it says, King David. That's what he said, King David. The Al Yedei, by means of this, afterwards comes the revelation. First of all, there's the revelation of the fact that there is such a thing as Mashiach. And then afterwards, all the details that come from that. Bo, he's Galuso, Le'ein Kol, everyone will see by means of what he does. Like it's hinted at in the week, it says, Elu Toldos Yitzchak. These are the offspring of Yitzchak. Shaleda, that the birth of the Mashiach and the revelation of his being will be in a way that will be revealed. Eile, like we said. Remember we said that Kislev is Lamed, Kes means covered. Lamed Vav is 36. That's the gematria of Eile. These, showing something that's visible. Eile. I'll call a Shomea Yitzchakli, that Rivka said, anyone that hears that I have a child called Yitzchak, they're going to laugh, they're going to be happy. Yitzchak, remember we learned in Torah or, Yitzchak means in the future, there will be laughter. And not only that it will cause not only the Jewish people, but also all of the nations of the world, all of the human beings, all humanity, the Ummat Olam, the nations of the world, and Habir the Lavan, whether we're talking about refining of Lavan, this is going to be next week, in Parshas Vayetze, and we're talking about in 2 weeks, Hein Habira the Esav, or whether we're talking about the refinement of Esav, that's in this week, next week, I'm sorry, of Esav that the Yaakov meets with Lavan, all of his sons and are born by Lavan, that refines him, and then afterwards he meets up with Esav, and he his brother, and he tries to fix him up in Parshas Vayishlach until it says Ad Avo El Adoni Seira. It says I will come to my friend. It was the Yaakov said to Esav. Esav said, maybe come walk with me. And Yaakov said, I'll meet you in Seir. What's Seir? Rashi says we don't find any place like that. They never met in Seir. Says he's talking about when will Yaakov meet with Esav. Esav is all the nations of the world. That's in the days of the Mashiach. Shene'amar, like it says, Va'olum Moshiim, the saved ones, the Jews, will come from mountain of Zion, Lishpot, to judge the mountain of Esav. And then King God will have the rulership. When will this happen? Taketh umiyad mamash, immediately. Okay, so what's the Rebbe saying over? The Rebbe is saying we have to change our attitude. We have to change the way that we think. We have to change our goal in life. And from that, we have to change also our, not just thoughts, we have to change also our speech. We have to say, long live the King Moshiach. We want Moshiach now. And by means of that, to change our deeds, to do as much good deed as we can, and to inform others that they should do the same. And let God do the rest. He has to do it. He promised he'll do it. It must happen now. We need Mashiach now. Now let's do the Yom Yom. Here we go. Thank you. That was very beautiful. It has to be, maybe it might have lost a little bit in the translation. Maybe it lost a lot in the translation, but there were periods of time when Rebbe Lekusa, we did this. When he used to pray Shachris, he would start early in the morning. He would pray the morning prayer, and that would take him just several hours, and then the evening prayer, because he would think about God. He would simply think about God. Okay, let's go. That's today. Here's tomorrow. Tomorrow. My grandfather once explained, my grandfather's talking about, this is the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe saying this, and his grandfather was the Rebbe Marash, Rebbe, the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, I'm sorry, the fourth Rebbe of Chabad, Rebbe Shmuel, and he once explained in a mimer, in a Hasidic discourse, he said, the Rebbe Elazar, he gave a coin to a poor person, and then he would pray. Before he would pray, he would give charity. Prayer has to be with life. It has to be happy. You're talking to God. So you got an appointment with the God. People wait for years just to get an appointment with some important person. You're getting an appointment with the creator of the universe, but it has to be alive. You have to appreciate it. If you give charity to someone and thereby give him life, so your prayer is permeated with also being alive. And when he said this, when the Rebbe Marash, when he said that, he said, you get life, he lifted his hand up high. He upped her gestures to indicate that an increase beyond imagination, high life. My father would sometimes look around for a poor person, a person that was needy, and to give him some food, give him something to eat, invite him in to eat or something like that. By helping another person as God helps you. Have a good day with Mashiach now. Have a good Shabbos with Mashiach now. God willing, we'll meet on Sunday at 8:15 unless Mashiach comes first, we'll all be in Jerusalem. Hopefully that'll happen. But in any
Amen.
case, it'll be a happy day. Either Mashiach will be here, which I'm almost sure is going to happen. It has to happen. It was supposed to happen a long time ago. Or we'll sit and learn Chassidut, and immediately after that, Mashiach will come.
Mashiach come on Shabbos?
Mashiach can come on Shabbos. Mashiach can come anytime. And the Rebbe said, how can that possibly be? It says that the Mashiach is not going to come on Shabbos or Erev Shabbos. So he said that Elijah the prophet will come and he'll answer all questions. He'll answer that question also, how it is that he came.
Good answer. I like that.
He has to come, right? Because the world can't continue the way it is. It's just too confusing.
It's too disturbing and traumatizing.
All right, my friends. See you.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you.